It's been a fun day so far, believe it or not. I'm really happy that my voice didn't give out. I expected by this time I would barely be able to talk. But it's been really enjoyable interacting and hearing the thoughts of the various constituencies that make up this campus. And I see some faces that have already been here this morning, so please forgive me if I end up repeating myself. It's almost impossible to do, but I will run through some of the basics of what I see as important in the next year, particularly if I am chosen as the dean of the campus, but even if not. So as I said earlier today, I really do welcome the opportunity to talk about, I think these kinds of discussions are really important. It's important every once in a while in an organization to take some time and look at where you've been, look at where you are, and look at where you're going. So we should have more of those discussions, and they shouldn't just be the dean telling you these things, but they should be collective discussions about where we want to be as a group. So I think that's very important for us to do from time to time. I think I was asked to speak on two things: my vision and priorities for the campus, and what are some of the things that I've done while I've been here to try to promote that vision, and what are some of the things that I would do if I were in this position to further it. Again, as I've said before, the most important thing to say about my vision about George Mason University, Korea, is that it's very much in step with the provost's vision for where we want to be as a campus, as a university, in the coming years. And that's a vision of a fully integrated school that is 8,000 miles away from the main campus, but very much a part of the range of schools that comprise the campus in Fairfax and Arlington. In fact, main campus is a collection of branch campuses too. We're just the only international branch campus. So I want to very much to promote that vision of trying to integrate with Fairfax, and I've been doing a lot already to push us in that direction, and I'm thankful that many of you at these tables have been part of that collective effort to promote the integration. I believe in that approach to running international branch campuses because I think it makes sense, and I've seen it work to the advantage of both the home campus and the branch campus when this kind of collaboration is happening. And I'm afraid that over the past few years we haven't fully had those opportunities to promote this kind of collaboration. And it's good now, I think, with the new structure and the provost vision of this campus as a kind of as one of many schools that comprise the main campus, is really going to help us make a better, deliver a better curriculum for our students, recruit more faculty, and provide more and better services for the campus, for the students. And it's going to do this by allowing us to draw on the expertise in the main campus. They've been at this for 70 years now. We've been at this for barely 5 years. It'll be 5 years at the end of this month, and we need to work with them to make this the best possible place. It's easy with international branch campuses. It's easy to simply rely on the reputation of the home campus. And that can, in the early years, get you very far with a new constituency. But we're reaching the point where we need to go further. We can't just claim that we're George Mason University, Korea, so that means that you must come to our campus. We need to make sure that we're delivering our curriculum in an effective fashion, that we're making contributions to the public life around here, that we're attracting people from the main campus and other experts to come out and share their ideas with the community, that we're creating an intellectual environment that is dynamic and attractive and lively. Everything we all, those of you in this room, who all of you have been affiliated with universities in the past, and we know that this is what we come to expect from universities. It's not just a place where you teach your courses. It's not just a place where you take your courses. It's a place that is an intellectual environment that's meant to promote ideas, discourse, research, employment, all sorts of activities. If I had to describe, I'll say something in a minute about, well, let me say my the three priorities that I see for the next couple of years. They're very simple. Retention, collaboration, and growth. Those are the things that we need to be focusing our collective efforts on. There are all sorts of particular ideas and programs and activities that might fall under each one of these. But to me, I want to keep it very simple and focus on three basic priorities for the coming years: retention, collaboration, and growth. And let me say more about each one of these in a minute. But let me also point out that I think it's important for us to be pragmatic where we are in our history, to have reasonable goals and to pursue those in a careful fashion to make sure that we're creating the success that we are telling everybody, including the students here, that they need to come to our campus and be a part of. That's very important. You know, I remember very early on, I think it was during the interview process, if I remember correctly, when I was interviewing to be the academic dean here, one of the board members, who shall remain nameless, said to me, you know, we have some concerns about, this is in the very early years of the organization, we had some concerns that that perhaps, you know, Mason Korea was still getting its act in order. It was still trying to create the systems that were necessary to support a strong and efficiently delivered curriculum. And this person said, you know, it's like we're marketing a product that isn't ready for sale yet, that hasn't been fully developed. And I think, frankly, if we're speaking frankly, and we look over the past few years, despite all the hard work of the staff, we had problems early on in what we were trying to deliver to the students and so forth. Things were not run efficiently. And I can tell you more about why I say that. Because I came into the organization at the end of the third year, fresh from another branch, international branch campus, and what I saw was really quite surprising from a simple efficiency level, right? And I referred to some of these issues earlier in the day at other meetings. I stepped in as academic dean, and course assignments were happening about 3 to 4 weeks prior to the beginning of the semester. All right. Let me see if I remember the others. And that was a disaster. I mean, the students were upset about that. It was quite clear. Faculty, it was possible to plan things. There were really a lot of that created a lot of serious problem and a serious demoralization, really. Students were complaining that there weren't enough courses. They were complaining they didn't have enough diversity in courses to choose from. So they wanted more courses, and they wanted a more diverse array of options. They were, of course, complaining about the lack of scholarship money. Faculty were very upset about the brevity of contracts. They were only a year long when I arrived. I've spent 10 years on the international market, in the international branch campus field, and you know, it's not a very long-term sustainable approach to contracts if you're going to hire people for 1 year, bring them out from around the world and hire them for 1 year. You have to provide more stability. And of course, faculty were also concerned about the last-minute class assignments. So these were key issues that affected our ability to deliver an efficient curriculum to the students in their classroom. That was a problem, and And that's a problem because of the, not just because it's not worthy of who we are as George Mason University, and all of us come to work and want to be good at what we provide to everybody, but it was a problem because it became painfully clear that these were exactly the issues that our students were telling us were driving them to leave the university and to, or to either temporarily by going on leave, or permanently by withdrawing and transferring to another institution. And I don't want to present a totally dire picture, but any of those of you who are familiar with the statistics understand that we were in a difficult situation. We had 20% of the first 2 or 3 cohorts that came through, student cohorts that came through our doors, 20% of them, by the time they reached the 7th or 8th semester, were around. 80% had left. That is a totally untenable situation. And my assumption, based on the data that we collected, was that these were the reasons. These were the things that were driving them away from the campus. And to a certain degree, some of these issues are still here. But one of the reasons I want you to think of me positively as somebody who can make a difference here is to look at the track record that I had in trying to address many of these concerns, because it was obvious what was going on, and I immediately set out with the hardworking staff of the Academic Affairs Unit, who were really doing their best on all sorts of things, and just needed some focus and direction on what kinds of issues to focus on. And so we immediately set about trying to address each one of these things. The first step was actually collecting good data on what students were telling us about what their experience was here. And we now have that good data, and we need more of it. In fact, we're working with the board of directors, and we'll probably introduce not just the survey of students who go on leave or withdraw from the university, which we've gotten very good at collecting, but even a comprehensive student satisfaction survey, because we need that good data to make good decisions about what we're going to do. So I set that up first with the staff. We confirmed that, in fact, issues like student services, cost, course diversity, and the overall quality of experience were what people were saying needed to change. And so we started. It was very clear that we needed to act at that point, and to start taking measures to turn the tide and focus on this retention issue, because this was, if we don't solve the retention problem, the difficolty or the problem that's created when students don't want to return, we're never really truly going to take off. So what did I do? What did the staff do? Well, gradually over time, we started to focus on making those course assignments earlier and more fully. It's taken a long while. These were not easy things to implement, but we went from a position of announcing whatever it was, and I may be overstating things. You could correct me, but maybe 50% of our courses a month or 6 weeks prior to the beginning of the semester, and then the other 50% in the first few, in the last few weeks of the semester. It was really, and we were hiring faculty literally days before the beginning of the semester. That's entirely untenable. That was an entirely untenable situation. Now we've changed that dynamic very much. It took several semesters of getting practices in order, but now we're at the point, I'm proud to say, where 2 weeks ago, the academic affairs staff announced 90% of the courses assigned for the spring to the students with instructors a good 3.5 months before the beginning of the semester. That allows people to plan. That allows the students to plan on how they're going to progress towards the degree. It allows the faculty to plan for their courses and build their commitment, build their portfolio for those syllabuses and so forth. That's just one measure, but it was a basic and an important one. And the list goes on. I mean, the students wanted more courses, so I set to work trying to increase the number of courses. There were about 70 when I came in the middle, I think it was the fall semester of 2016, that's when I came in the middle of that. There were roughly 70 courses. We're now at about 103 or 105 courses. We've moved that up, and that's not just the result of new programs, it's also the result of introducing more electives and trying to provide more course diversity. I had the benefit of working with one of the other campus leaders here in a previous life. That's Todd Kent, who is now, I think they call it the Chief Administrative Officer, the head of University of Utah. We used to work together in Qatar, and we had jointly introduced a program for cross-registration there. Cross-registration is an opportunity for all of the campuses here to provide, to contribute courses to a collective pool and let everybody take them. That helps our students. And we've got, I think, we've had altogether maybe 8 or 10 students in the past 2 semesters take advantage of this. We're hosting 9 students from other campuses. And we were the leaders in the pack. It was really due to the work of academic affairs that during that first semester, spring 2018, it was only our university that was sending students because our students were so interested in increasing the options they had for signing up. Students were complaining about scholarship money. Well, I advocated strongly to double the amount of scholarship money that we were providing in the continuing scholarships. That's what academic affairs controls. Other units have to control other programs. And that's, in fact, what we did. We increased from 5% to 10% of the annual scholarship amount. And then on the faculty side, of course, we had to deal with the contract issue, double the length of the contract so that people could have some level of job security, weren't arriving here or joining the campus, and then immediately have to thinking about whether or not they were going to need to find a position in a year. These sound like very basic things because they are very basic things, and it was really surprising that, well, it wasn't really surprising. It was very clear that these things needed to be addressed immediately. In fact, these are problems that a lot of international branch campuses have early on because it takes time to get these processes in place. Now, I'm not at all trying to argue with you that that's it, I solved the problem, it's, we're done, everything's perfect now, no need to complain. Clearly, we have to continue to focus on making sure that we're delivering services efficiently to our students and high quality curriculum, and that ultimately we're giving them a quality experience from which they can draw and be proud of, and encourage their friends and colleagues to enroll in. So I give these as an example of how I think that leadership can be sometimes a very pragmatic thing that's very focused on very realistic goals. That if we diligently work with good staff to try to focus on them, we can solve a lot of problems. And I'd like to be given the chance to do that at a higher level of this organization. Let me say something about student affairs and retention too. When I arrived, I was the Dean of Academic Affairs and Student Affairs. Oh man, when I saw that listed in my contract, I really had to pause to sign my name, right? Not because I fear anything about student affairs, but it was just simply overwhelming. The idea that somebody would be responsible ultimately, and it was just one person in fall of 2016, one person supported by one person on the staff, Mihi, who was responsible for student affairs. That was a gargantuan task. And frankly, another big failure during that time, and I take full responsibility of this, was the curriculum was absolutely critical to what we needed to do. Student affairs was neglected under my first year as the academic affairs dean. But I knew it was very clear that it was being neglected, and so it was also very clear that we needed to do something about it. We needed to do something right away, because students' experience in the classroom is a key part of what we offer, but their experience outside the classroom is also extraordinarily important to how they form opinions about whether they're getting something for their money and whether this is valuable and is going to help them grow and as students and be happy in the place that they are. Now, I think we've made great strides in student affairs, and I can't take any responsibility for that because it all, I think, is the responsibility of Dean Marcel, who's been absolutely fantastic. What I can take responsibility for is I was the one who was smart enough to recommend hiring Dean Marcel for that position. I led the national search, and just from the beginning it was clear that we had a winner here with this candidate. And I think the mission is not done, but the way we look at student affairs right now is so different from what it looked like when I arrived here in the fall. We have a resident advisor program. We have a Chingo program. We've greatly expanded the student organizations we've got. We've got an active student government right now. We're about to open up a huge student lounge and reorganize student involvement in the campus by giving them the fourth floor to control that as space of their own and to feel like they have a place in this campus where they can sometimes study, sometimes relax, but find a home here. And that feeling of being attached to a community is absolutely essential for building a commitment to us. And I anticipate that we're going to see a lot of breakthrough the next semester under Dean Marcel's good leadership, and I would fully expect to be supporting his work and student affairs work in that regard. Anyway, my belief, my hope, is that by continuing to look for the things that we can improve, we will continue to improve the retention statistic. We will continue to convince students that they need to stay with us and not leave, not go to another Korean university, not transfer anywhere else, and so forth. Okay, that was one. That was the notion of retention. The second big goal for us is how are we going to do retention in addition to just making sure we have a good product to offer. Another thing we have to do is make sure that we are fully collaborating and integrating with the main campus. And I hope everybody in this room sees how important that is. We know that's what the students want. We know that's what their parents want. We know that's why they come to us, is because they're expecting that we are part and parcel. We are one with George Mason University. And while that's been true in spirit all along, I think in practice that's not been the ideal that we've lived up to. And I want to make sure that we continue to move in that direction and implement the Provost's vision in that regard. And I think that I'm proud to say that even in the past 6 or 8 months, we have greatly increased the traffic coming from Fairfax into our campus, helping us solve certain problems, learning more about our community, talking directly with students about their academic programs. We've had, I think I went through this in an earlier meeting today, but we've had visitors from the Schar School, including the dean and 4 of his faculty, meeting not just with us, but with people all around the city. The dean of the School of Conflict Analysis and Resolution has been here to be part of a symposium, as well as one of their key faculty members, working side by side with our faculty here. The chair of the accounting department came because he needed to learn more about the accounting department for what is it, the ACSP, the business school accreditation process. And he met with students while he was here. The same for the chair of the computer game design. We brought the Office of Institutional Effectiveness or Research and Effectiveness here because they need to help us figure out how to stay in compliance with the accreditation requirements that we're mandated to be in compliance with from Fairfax for collecting data about the community and assessing the effectiveness of our programs as well as the satisfaction level of the people that are working here. And I'm pleased to say we're making progress in that regard because through intense an intense week of consultation, we were able to learn much from them. And the list goes on, and we have plans already for more of this next semester. Mason Into will be here next semester for a few weeks at a time to help us implement a change in the PPP curriculum and work side by side with our faculty. Student Affairs or University Life will be here to help with that. And we will continue to look for opportunities to do this. We're opening up programs that you'll soon, within probably the early new year, we'll soon start to learn more about of your faculty and staff. Opportunities for faculty to apply for money to go to the main campus for a few days or a week to consult with counterparts. And I'm expecting that to be a faculty-driven decision about who will get those opportunities. We'll do the same thing with staff. We want to look for opportunities to take staff here, staff who've been working here for years on end, who are constantly in the position of telling people that we're Mason, we work for Mason. We're with George Mason University, but they've never been to the main campus. They don't know what Mason is involved. They've never had the opportunity to intensely talk with their counterparts on the other side about how they deliver their services. We want to make sure that we start correcting that. Are we going to be sending lots of people all at once? No, we don't have the resources to do that. But we are going to start take modest steps to try to correct this kind of situation. So I hope that collaboration will result in a better experience for all of us, an influx of ideas and, if nothing else, intellectual resources for helping us get things done. I think it will also give us much more visibility on the main campus and make main campus more likely to, even more likely to start to think about us in the development of its own programs. I've seen repeatedly, as I've said in earlier meetings today, the value of getting on the agenda of main campus and making people see what we're doing, because it gives them the reassurance they need to give us more and increasing autonomy to make decisions where it's appropriate. The final issue is growth. I've got 3 minutes and 3 seconds to talk about growth. Let me just say, and this can be very busy, obviously growth, we're all concerned about growth. It's not a surprise that growth is going to be on the list. I just had a meeting with the CEO of IGC, and that was the #1 discussion on the table, which was how are we going to grow. And I think that the short story is, I think that we have to rethink our growth strategy, or rethink it from what it was a year ago. I think there was too much focus on some grand gambles about bringing in large numbers of people from community colleges and so forth. I don't think that was a workable idea in the end. It had some merit, but it wasn't ultimately something we could sustain. We need to draw on the expertise that we have in this room with Kelly Chung at the head of the Admissions and Enrollment Office, and with her staff, to start looking at more realistic and pragmatic options. Making sure that we've expanded our list of contacts with Korean high schools and feeder schools and so forth to the greatest degree possible. There are limits. They've impressed upon me that there are limits. But we just want to keep maintaining it to make sure that we're maximizing that. At the same time, IGC wants to see a more diverse student body. We want to see a more diverse student body. That was the other message from the IGC CEO today, was how they're getting pressure from IFESA and the city government for the campuses here to be more diverse. So that means we have to start looking at other options, right? And those options include the children of English-speaking expats who are already in this country, working for the military, working for the embassies, working for the international corporations that are here. Kelly and her team are already started in that, but we need to collectively provide support through faculty visits and just collective thinking on how to expand that goal. We're inviting 40 people from the main campus here next semester, 25 to the Global Gateway program, and probably another 16 or so that will be study abroad students. That's one way of diversifying the student body. 40 is more than we've ever had, and at the current enrollment, that's probably 12-13% of the total student body, which is a very respectable rate of diversity, but we need to increase that even more. Ideally, of course, we want to recruit international students long term, not just for one semester, but this is a way to at least make our environment more diverse. And the last thing we want to do is, that I think we need to do is to support more of the recruitment in the region, where we can be competitive to folks in China, Southeast Asia, who don't want to go to the United States or would prefer to stay local rather than come to the United States. I think that though putting our resources into that, in some ways we've been distracted from that for the past couple of years. All right, that means 30 minutes is up. That means, but I do get to say one last thing. Let me wrap it up and just say that those three priorities, I hope they may not sound terribly exciting, terribly grand, retention, collaboration, and growth, but they are what we need at this time. We don't need, it seems to me, in all humility, we don't want silver bullet solutions. I think my experience here for 2 years tells me that there's not going to be one program, one thing we're going to do that's going to save the whole campus. We need to try options across the board, and we need to be pragmatic at the same time that we're remaining to be proactive. That we're making our decisions about where we focus our energies based off of what we know is important for our long-term viability here. And I think that's what retention, collaboration, and growth really are. It's an agenda that's identified by what strategically we need to make sure that we're here 10 years from now. I'm 56. Am I 56 or 57? I'm 56. I just turned 56. I would love to be here in 10 years. I love it in Korea, and I think that I have no doubt that this organization is going to grow and continue for another 10 years. I think the difference, the question that's looming over all our heads is, how much will it grow? Where will we be in 10 years? Will we be able to claim, 2,000 students, a faculty of 60, and be the large and vibrant organization that we want to be? And I think we're going to have to get there step by step, and focusing on hard-nosed, pragmatic problems. And that's the grand vision, if you will, that I had. Whew! So that's the summary of my presentation. Now I'd like to just open it up. We have another half hour for anything you want to talk about. We can talk about specific issues. We can talk about general themes. I'm interested in your thoughts on what you think the priorities are for the campus, and I'm also very specifically interested in your thoughts of what you want to see from a dean and what you're looking for in the new campus dean position. So we can open it up from there. And I get to drink of water. Dr. Jin.
Thank you for your good vision for the future development of our school. Our school is relatively small, but we have lots of potential to be a top research school in Korea. Do you like to remain our school to be a teaching school in Korea, or do you have any other plan?
Right, sure. That's a very good question. Obviously, research is an important thing for any university to develop. And that component is still growing here. But we know that it's important. It's important to all of us here to make sure that we're offering we're offering something to our students that's based on a research-driven curriculum. It's important for the professional advancement of the faculty that are here. It's also important to main campus, which considers itself as a student-centered research university. And it's important to our hosts who want us to be making active contributions to the research community here. We are small, and a lot of our faculty are junior, and they have heavy course loads that are 4 and 4 course loads, maybe with some administrative release. And those are difficult circumstances. In the main campus, term contracts with that kind of workload, there's no expectation of research productivity. So we have to figure out, if we're going to truly enrich the environment here and push it on to the next level, how we're going to do that. So I've had long conversations about this with the provost, One of the interim strategy that we're exploring right now is to try to build research centers here. Even if at first they're only nominally research-oriented, but centers of collaboration, centers of excellence with the main campus, allowing for the faculty-to-faculty collaboration on both of the sides. The Schar School is a perfect example of this kind of exercise, and Professor So-Young Kwon has been working very carefully, very closely with Dr. Ellen Leibson, to establish the Center for Security Policy Studies, Korea, a branch of the CSPS, as it's called in the main campus. And while we're still very early on this, the hope is that we will be promoting more and more visits across the divide between faculty and creating opportunities for collaboration of the faculty in Fairfax with the faculty here. This could take a while. It could take a few years even before we see, particularly when you consider the nature of journal publications or book publications, it can take years before those things reach press. Even the very top good ones can take years before they reach press. But that's the strategy. Conflict resolution is also talking about opening up a similar center. I've had those discussions with Professor Wilson and with Dean Abbott when he was here. And while these will be modest at first, there's room, because of their modesty, there's room for opening up a variety of possible programs, with careful consideration in order to try to create that infrastructure of faculty-to-faculty collaboration. That's one way that we can try to address this. The other thing is, I think we are, when I take what you say seriously, it's also the case that we do have some productivity among our faculty, even under these difficult circumstances. And I think we need to get better at identifying what kinds of research is being produced here. I don't care whether it's in the top journals, I don't care whether it's in the top presses. Nobody can say that our faculty are not producing anything, because you can walk up to my office and I can show you the books that have been published in the past 2 years while I've been here. There's a good 7 or 8 of them that involve our faculty, either single-author books or edited volumes. There are the same thing can be said about journal articles. We've had some great successes with our faculty. Professor Hyung-Young Cho got a very prestigious grant from the National Endowment for Humanities. It's not a research grant, but it was a grant that seriously acknowledged her professional contributions. It's the top award in her field. I think that if I'm being, one of the priorities will be, I've been actually working with staff members now to assemble this information more thoroughly and try to get it out to the community. So, in short, Professor Chin, the answer is not that we have a clear path to research productivity in the near future, but we are pursuing. I intend to pursue and to grow the initiatives we've already started to try to promote collaborations that will allow our faculty to increase their opportunities for research. Other questions? Please.
I know you spoke about collaboration among the 4 campuses, but in terms of marketing, we do need to distinguish ourselves from our potential students, families, and faculty, and possible donors. How do you envision us, though we collaborate, we work together, but how do you envision us to have that a branding or our own identity here at IGC? Potentially there are 10 universities coming to this campus. How do you vision that sort of identity as a George Mason Korea?
Yeah. That's a good question. Let's hope we have the problem of 10 universities on this campus at some day. That would signal a really vibrant operation, and so those are the kinds of problems I think we would want to have. Let's see. I'm not sure I have an easy answer for the question. Of course we have to, because a lot of what we are marketing, what we are selling to this market, if you will, is common among the institutions, right? I mean, I am very proud of George Mason University. I think we have excellent academic programs, and I think we can defend those programs against just about any that might exist in Korea. At the same time, what's the value added for our academic programs? It's the fact that we're delivering them in English here, right? It's the fact that if you're parents who understand that, it's a good investment to pay for English language education, so good that 80,000 Koreans are sending their children to the United States on average every year. That's according to CVIS in 2015. 80,000 of them are willing to send their kids overseas to get that education because they know it's an education of value, and they know that having those kinds of college-level English skills are going to be useful in the market. So we share that with all the other campuses. I think that the strengths we have to draw on are the novel programs that we've got. I mean, you would expect me to say this. I'm a conflict resolution guy. That's what my background is. No other program like conflict resolution in the country. And here we are pioneering that field here in Korea. And that, I think, the parents, may have some questions about what that means and where people are going to get a job. But if we can establish what's unique about what we offer, I think that's going to do us well. We will always and forever, unless SUNY closes, be one of the oldest universities in IGC, right? We'll always be the second one. So one of our marketing is 10 years from now, we'll be the ones who've been doing this for the longest. I'm not wishing that SUNY closed, by the way. I want to go on record. If there's anybody here from the student newspaper, please, that's not the takeaway that I want from this talk. I'm just saying that next to SUNY's the only one who can claim being older than we are. And we need to, we'll always have that in our advantage. I mean, I don't have an easy answer, but I think we have to look for the things that are unique about what we do. And frankly speaking, if we contribute, frankly, there's no need to be frank about it, it's true. The collaboration project, I think, will distinguish us in this campus from the other campuses. The other campuses there are some areas in which they collaborate, but they have much less visitors than we have. They have much less demonstrable consultation with the main campus. Some are a little better at attracting main campus faculty than we're able to be. But on all other sorts, there are limits on what they do. And I think if we can provide to the market the understanding that this really is Little Mason here in Songdo, right? And we have people, we have some faculty, but we also have people rotating in all the time to consult with us, to give lectures, to do what they do best in Fairfax here for the benefit of our community, for Songdo, and for Seoul. And I think that's going to be really important because I think we're going to, I think another thing we may want to consider, I mean, expense is always going to be an issue. One of the valuable things about Professor Kwan's work with the CSPS, one of the many valuable things, was that she took those faculty members into Seoul, and they met with think tanks, and had the opportunity for free exchange on current issues in foreign policy. I can't tell you how good that is for this university, because it's really showcasing our expertise from the main campus and from here, Professor Kwan's expertise, in the heart of Seoul and in the heart of that particular community. We need to think more about those kinds of opportunities, on whether we can put events on in Seoul. We know that people have a problem coming out here. Maybe it would be helpful to be more proactive like that. But the point is, the more visible we are with these kinds of things, the more we distinguish ourselves from the other campuses.
There is another important role of campus.
Yes.
Of course, I fully understand and support your free as incidents all but as a campus team, you should interact and compete with the main society.
Sure.
So, figurehead role of you as a campus team is very important for acquiring resources from outside, especially what's your
Right.
figurehead of
Right, right. Figurehead is an unusual word, right? It can have a double connotation. I hope, I don't consider myself a figurehead. I consider myself a roll-up-the-sleeves dean who's going to do what's necessary, put on a suit from time to time and talk to public audiences, but also make sure that we're leading here on the campus, trying to accomplish the goals that we want internally. I think that's really, that's of paramount importance, yes. So with that assertion, I don't disagree at all. Clearly, we have to have a public face for this institution, and in some ways, either candidate that we have to choose from here is going to make the statement to the public audience that that George Mason University is pursuing a kind of American path of organization for its campus here. That's what we know that our parents have been asking for. And so we're headed in that direction of having the opportunity for the dean to communicate what it means to have an American education to this particular audience. Now, we know that a lot of things are done in Korea, face-to-face, over tea, in the Korean language, which are clearly things that neither one of the candidates can participate in, right? And so we're going to have to think more creatively about how we participate in the public, the public discourse here. We have opportunities and resources that I don't think we've tapped enough over the past few years, and those are opportunities and resources that are here among the faculty, with faculty connections in a variety of different fields. I can look at several different people around the room who know what I mean. And we can rely on our internal resources for identifying the right people to meet with. I would expect that while, yes, there are important things that need to be tended here, I'm going to have to pivot, if I'm in this position, towards the outside much more, and we'll be thinking about how to develop the relationships that I already have with the IFESA offices, the IGC office, the ministries, and so forth. Now, of course, the dean is not the only one to do this. We have an external relations office, and we have pre-existing relations. But yes, it's going to be necessary for me to spend more time pursuing those relationships, taking meetings with them, taking lunches with them. Of course, I'll be searching either for English language speakers or a translator who can help the meeting happen. But I think that we can be successful in this because we know this is what the market has been asking. This is what the government has been asking of us. More and more of a sense of an American education, an American operation. And I think that's something that we can try to pursue. I recognize this is a big issue, and it's going to take a lot of work to develop those kinds of contexts. But you are the kind of person who can help be a part of that.
That's a good point. You have enough internal resources to resolve those kind of or promote the communication.
Right. Right.
Yes, that's one.
And another was something we were. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, and the other one, you are 2 years from 2015.
Yes.
Almost 3 years. You are 3 years of experience. Okay, residing here will help you. Okay.
Well, I certainly hope so. The history, having that kind of history on the ground is really important in Korea and in lots of places in the world. And again, we've had a long, lots of instances of change over time. I hope that I can provide some level of continuity as far as the outside world is concerned in terms of familiarity. And we can. There are so many ideas that we can talk about for trying to increase these things. We were just having a discussion, I think it was at lunch, about the possibility of perhaps attracting key individuals for either some kind of scholar in residence program, or perhaps even as adjunct faculty. I certainly did not focus enough on that as academic affairs dean, but that would be an opportunity perhaps to bring some people in without high cost on their part, and a high cost for us in terms of money, or them needing to come to us fully employed, but could still be associated with us and give us some visibility here in Songdo or more broadly in the country. If we choose people correctly, then we can build that kind of name recognition. But those are the kinds of ideas that I think we could pursue to do this. Les, please.
Could you say more about your vision of what kind of like a larger role of this kind of campus? I know you've had experience with
Yeah.
it before.
Right. I have had experience before. The other experience was a lot easier in so many ways. Why? Because, as everybody knows, and I've said before a couple times, the money that the Qataris were putting into higher education is just not to be believed. I mean, think of your highest number and then triple it. I mean, it was incredible what they were paying for. And of course, we're never going to replicate that. The other reason it was so easy to stand out in Qatar was we had no domestic competition. We had to compete with the other 8 or 9 campuses that were in Korea, or in Qatar, but it was set up as a kind of multiversity. So there wasn't much competition because Cornell was running a med school. Well, our foreign policy school wasn't in competition with a med school, and other issues like that. There was one major national university at home. It was highly valued in the Gulf. It was considered the best national university in the Gulf. But that wasn't saying a whole lot, given that the quality was generally poor in the Gulf. So I think we face a greater challenge in Korea because we're here with the other partnership universities, but we're facing a very developed higher education system that has some very very top universities, a lot of good solid universities, and so I think that makes it tougher for us to find our niche. I know what the government wanted us to do and what the role was, and I think these are still viable ideas. One primary thing was, it was a classical brain drain argument. They wanted to prevent Korean students, like I say, SIVA says that there were 80,000 Korean passport holders enrolled in American universities in 2015. And they wanted to capture them and bring them back and make them stay here and get jobs here. And that's something we can help the government with to a degree. And we can prepare students with English language skills who can go on to the international job market that's already here in Korea and be quite competitive. We have ample evidence that that's the case. This is, as you all know, this is a very sluggish economy right now. Jobs are not plentiful for Korean students, certainly. And we can distinguish them on the job market by providing them an excellent English language education that will make them competitive in that area. So that's one thing one role we see. There's also, in some of the discourse I've read, there's been a notion about transmitting the values of an American higher education system into the Korean higher education system. While there are some excellent universities in the system, you just need to get on the web and you will easily find higher education administrators in Korea who are very critical about the higher education sector, who complain about the pedagogy in the classroom, about the hierarchy on the campus among faculty, a lot of issues that we struggle with in the United States. But to a very powerful degree here. And the hope is they've been searching at higher education in Korea, from what I've read in the English language press, for ways to try to address this, to move from an emphasis on rote memorization to an emphasis on what we do best, which is building critical analytical skills for people, allowing them to take initiative, allowing them to come up with creative ideas and build their skills in articulating those, researching those, and presenting those, and so forth. So I think we have some, we have that, there's at least the promise that we can make those kinds of contributions, particularly to the extent that we start to bring more and more people through the door through our various activities and our contributions to public debates and intellectual debates here in the city. Not that, is there anything else? I don't know. Call me an old softy, a 56-year-old softy. And I think we're very much on the same page about this. I truly believe in the mission of this university. I went into conflict resolution because I think people need to talk more about how it is they come together and how they succeed together, how they jointly accomplish things. I believe in cross-cultural engagement and communication, and I look around this room and I see that's exactly what we've got going on here. A bit one way because half of us don't speak Korean, but it's still a form of engagement that's, I think, very important. And I take pride and excitement from the fact that that our campus is modeling that level of cross-cultural communication. And you never know in these situations when that might become especially useful to somebody in the city here or in the United States. Anyway, that's a reasonably short answer. How are we doing on time? We're at 4:32. When are we scheduled? I mean, there's certainly time for more questions or comments if people have them. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Thank you. I didn't see your hand.
How do you think that this campus could be better marketed to students at Fairfax? Because having a few dozen international students is impressive. When you're drawing from a pool of like 30,000 students,
right.
I feel like there's room for improvement.
Right. No, that's a very good point, and that is something we're concerned about: is how do we make more inroads onto the main campus? We're not going to be happy with only with 25 global gateway students and 16 study abroad students. But for us, that's a big breakthrough given our history so far. So let's also judge us on the basis of where we've been, not necessarily on the kind of abstract criteria of what might be possible. So keeping that in mind, one of the promises, it's not just that accepting these global gateway students is going to increase the number of students coming from the main campus.
How is Global Gateway different than a study?
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have explained that. Global Gateway is a new program that the main campus has introduced. It's a 4-year program, just like Mason's 4-year program. But it has a special emphasis on a kind of global orientation to the education that you get. It's targeted at high-performing students from high schools, and it gives them an opportunity to come into Mason, have special programming related to sort of a global approach to understanding the world, as well as a second semester experience overseas. That's probably the signature a feature of this program right now. There are, I think, as I recall, a half dozen programs like this around the United States at least. And so the second semester, they're just taking their Mason core courses, just like I don't know what year you are, but are you first year?
No, I'm a junior.
You're a junior, all right. Well, just like you took sorry, you don't look first year, it's just I wasn't sure. But they're taking Mason core courses just like you did, but the second semester is going to be done at one of, well, we now hear it's 10 universities around the world that the universities made an agreement with. And we're one of those. At the time when people were choosing for us, we were one of 5, and we were the second most popular, and only by a couple were we off from being the most popular. But those students will come here, 25 of them is what we're planning on, and then what happens? It's not just that they're coming here and that increases our number. It's that they go back to the main campus. And it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're giving them the quality experience and the quality services that we know we have to offer, because that's the buzz that gets started on the main campus is, wow, this is an interesting place to be. I talked about, using survey information. I don't think we've ever surveyed the study abroad students that come over here. And I don't know about prior to 2 years ago, but I know about the past 2 years. I think we've had I think there was one case where a study abroad student arrived from Mason, got here, and within 3 days was on a plane going back, all right? And just decided that this was not the place for her. But that's not the overall pattern for the students that are coming here. The overall pattern is they come, they like it, they seem happy with what they've got. It's very novel. They love K-pop. They enjoy, gimbap. They really embrace the cross-cultural experience that they're having here. And a lot of them want to stay longer than they originally planned on doing, which actually creates a headache for us because there are rules about how long you can stay. But nonetheless, the evidence is they're happy with that experience. And higher education is a long-term game. I mean, you don't, there's the old joke, how effective is your university? Well, I'll tell you in 30 years, right? That's how long it takes to figure what kind of contributions we're making to the community around us. But I think with patiently growing each semester the number of students that were coming, we will let the word of mouth do the work for us. If I'm dean, I expect to be on main campus a lot more than I have been in the past 2 years. And that'll be in order to talk about new programs and in order to spend the time to pitch the campus to students. Not that flocks of students are going to sign up if they see my face, but if they know that that they can see somebody from Korea there who's willing to talk to them, be enthusiastic about it, I can help with those campaigns, and we can coordinate better. I'm really encouraged by the fact that right now, as you may know, after some time of uncertainty or some transition in the offices on the main campus that were responsible for hosting our students, they've now got a fairly clear and defined network, and we see ample evidence of students, activities for students there, and other good signs. That office can now be very useful for helping to recruit students, and I would expect the new dean, whoever he's going to be, should be part of that process, and I would certainly expect to be if I was.
On a segue from that, in many different forums, spoke about how do we get, or how would you get in your new position, how would you get the main campus and the main campus units to include that George Mason Korea is being presented when they go to their own recruiting efforts out there in the United States and around the world.
So you mean, can we get the admissions and recruitment office in Fairfax to start including our folks in their efforts, or you mean actually the departments to be reminding everybody that they have a campus in Korea?
Yes, no, yes.
Okay.
So the main recruiting at Fairfax is done by Fairfax University to include that George Mason University Korea is on their talking point
Right.
when they go abroad. This is also, some people talk about it, some others. The other part is to get the individual units that go abroad and about the United States to, when they're recruiting, to also mention George Mason University
Right.
Korea as an extension of their program.
Yeah. And I think those are all the kinds of things that should be happening. There are certain departments, I think, that are doing that, but most are not. And why are they not? Well, I think it's still very much the case that there are lots of places on main campus that don't even know we exist. Lots of this, and this is true with all international branch campuses, particularly in which the mother campus is a large campus. The word doesn't get out. So we need to rethink what we're communicating to people. We need to have an activist dean that's going to try to give some visibility to the program among various constituents there. We need to promote this cross-collaboration because that's really what's going to put us on the agenda. I mean, you saw very much how effective it was to have Kevin Averill here, right? We talked about this. I mean, Kevin himself, I'm not telling tales, Dean Averill himself recognized that there were many simple things that he could do on the website and with faculty to promote George Mason University Korea, just like he's promoting other overseas programs that SCAR has. But it was just by virtue of being here, and seeing what kind of things we're doing, that the light bulb went off and things started to change. So I would expect we'll have more of that kind of thinking, the more that main campus sees sees faculty as a kind of, as part of their community. And we can do that on a department basis. One of the things I've been talking to Jeanette Muir about is perhaps the possibility of representation, symbolic as it may be, on the faculty senate, so that there's a visible representation of George Mason University Korea, on the faculty and their departments and so forth. But I think there's no one way. I think we have to come at this from multiple angles and just keep hammering it. I need faculty in all of their activities to make sure that they're promoting this university when they're on main campus or when they're at professional conferences or whatever it may be. The more faculty participate in the life of main campus, the better it is. And some of that we can help happen from the top, but a lot of that is going to be driven by your own professional context. I know that I was very pleased, and we discussed this, when you and Borislava applied to the Global Education Office grant program that allowed the George Mason University in Fairfax to pay for travel that would help you, but help us collectively explore experiential learning for the SCAR students. That's excellent, right? Now we know we're on the map with GEO, and in that sense, and with that grant program, and then it opens up the doors for other people to be. Those are the kinds of things that lead to this sense of oh yeah, Mason, that's right. I remember. We ought to include them in this thing. I mean, I could go on. We could systematically go down the websites of the departments we work with, as I have started to do. The accounting department is incorporating our website onto theirs now. Conflict resolution has decided to do this. It would be easy for a very, very simple thing to do to make sure that we're representing that principle on the internet as much as anywhere else.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. Thanks for very interesting questions. And I will fly to the main campus tomorrow, and then be speaking on the main campus on Friday with the same kind of show. But if you want to talk about any of the issues that we've been discussing anytime today, just feel free to write me an email, and I'll be back in the country next week. And Bemi assures me that there will be a message that will go out later today for giving you an indication of how to provide feedback about today's events and tomorrow's, or the events of later this week too. So you'll get some more word about that. Thank you all. Is it time for the reception now, or what are we doing? It's just a Greek time right now. I see. Okay.
I mean, people can stop and ask you one-on-one questions.
All right.